say it ain't true, man.
Where'd you find this?
Let's get ready to rumble!
This is PHAT'S Barbershop Club.
Brought to you by PHAT'S Fresh Cooks. It's more than a barbershop.
And here's your host, Ladarius Fat Man.
All eyes on me.
Daddy's working.
Welcome to my town.
What's up, Rustin? What's up, everybody? I am Fat, and this is PHAT'S Barbershop Club. Real topics, real views from real people. And today I have in the building with me, Mr. Mark Cramer.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
How's it going?
Going great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just had to get you on.
I appreciate it.
You know, I was meaning
to go way back.
Oh yeah, way back. And I always tell people, you know, you kind of kept me in the loop of wrestling football for years. You know,
and you deserved it.
Thank you. Once again, everybody, Mr. Mark Cramer, champion trophies. Once the voice, you know, that we heard on the radio.
21 years.
21 years. Wrestling high football. Sideline play-by-play, was it?
Sideline first, and that's when I talk about the play that you made that was so famous in wrestling high football lore.
Oh man!
And then after 5 or 6 years or so, then I ended up moving up to the booth and color commentating for Mr. Joe Blake, and then for now the voice of the Bearcats, Kyle Roberts, who you've also had on.
I've had him on. That was a really good show. But I want to thank you because, you know, people come up to me and they're like, hey, I heard your name on the radio. And I'm like, these many years later, you know, at that time. And there was one instance that I remember a good friend of mine, James McGovern. He graduated a year before me.
The governor.
Yeah. So in 2017, he was like on Facebook, he said, hey, you just got a shout out on the radio. And I was like, what, this many years later? Yeah. So he's like, well, this is not the first time I've heard it, you know? And I was like, well, dang, I don't think I did too much when I was playing, you know?
And you graduated what year?
2003.
Right. So you graduated with my daughter.
Yes, with Katie. Yes, we were, I met Katie 6th grade when we all went over to I. Lewis and we graduated together, you know?
Yeah. So that's how far back we go besides you just playing football.
Yes.
And do you mind if I tell the story?
Yes, go ahead. Tell
why
the story.
You're so famous for me?
Tell the story.
Okay, I was on the sidelines. We were at Longview playing a very good, one of the highest ranked teams at that time in Texas in 6A. And I was down on the sidelines and the Bearcats had the ball. I don't remember exactly, but it probably was about the 10 or 12 yard line. And went on a sweep to the right. And some guys hit you on about the 5 yard line. One guy did, and then another guy did, and then a third guy did, and you're still churning and keeping those legs moving like you're supposed to, and kept dragging them and kept dragging them and kept dragging them, and a fourth guy came up and jumped on top of you on about the 2 yard line, and you ended up dragging 4 guys into the end zone for a touchdown. And it's still to this day, even after my 21 years, of course I retired last year, but in my whole 21 years, I never saw a touchdown better than that one.
And I thank you. I remember sending that clip off to different schools, and that was the
good clip.
That was the one that they were always like, we see you have it in you.
Yeah, you know? You've got some power.
Yeah, I love playing football at Ruston High. It was fun. I was just thinking about, you know, my district record, you know, with all the teams, West Monroe, of course, 0-3 against West Monroe, but I was 2-1 against Washita, and I ended up, me personally, my years 1-2 against Neville, with some real shootouts in that series.
Well, Neville was really top notch then too.
Yeah. I remember my my sophomore year, we went down and we lost on the goal line. Robert Lane was a sophomore too that year, playing quarterback. Tremendous. He was that guy right there. He was insane.
He could play it.
And then that very next year, we had some bulletin board material when everybody across the state even across the state lines were saying that Neville was going to beat us. So we ended up having them at home, beating them in a real good game. Then I had a pretty decent game that game. And my senior year, we talk about this all the time. Before we left to go to Neville, to Monroe, our bus went off the side of the
I remember that.
And went into the graveyard, and it was a Friday the 13th. We let it get to our heads. I can tell you at least 3 players that I know. We let it get to our heads like, dang, that happened on Friday the 13th. This is crazy.
Black cats walking.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, we get beat on the 80-yarder down the field, and they end up 70-yarder down the field, and they end up running it in on the goal line. And man, that was a tough one because we actually had that one, and that was a tough season too. We actually made it into the playoffs by the skin of our teeth, 4-6.
I think you were 32nd.
32nd on the. Had to go down and play.
Played Fountain Blue, didn't you?
No, we played Catholic that year.
Oh yes,
had to
at
go
Olympic
down,
Stadium.
Yes, had to go down and play Catholic, and that was a pretty decent game too.
It was. You guys probably played Catholic that year before the split.
Yeah.
Everybody was still in 5A, and you guys probably played Catholic better than anybody.
Mm.
I think they won the state championship game by 25 or 30 points, and I think our game was like 10.
Okay. Yeah, that was we were 21-14.
Yeah.
We scored two touchdowns in the second half on a quarterback change, and it just sparked us, and we dropped the ball in the end zone, and we were just that close as a 32 seed to beating. I think they were number 2 or 3 or something. Yeah. So that was that team. The class of 03 team. I like how we endured that season. It was a tough one coming from a state championship run as far as a state runner-up, then a semifinal run, and then getting out of there in the second round, I think, against Barb, and then barely getting in the next year. That was a tough 3 years.
Yeah.
So but we made it out of it. So yeah, guys, we have Mr. Mark Cramer in the building. Champion trophies.
Yes.
We were talking about some work that he's come in and inspired me on some work for the state plaque that I
decorate your walls.
Decorate my walls.
A little bit of an upgrade.
You've done, and y'all, if you have a trophy in your house, a plaque, if you have
more than likely I did it.
Anything, he did it. What was your or what has been? Well, first let me ask, how long have you been in champion trophies?
As you know, I was a coach.
Okay.
My last coaching job back in the 80s was at Dubach.
Okay.
And I coached there for 4 years.
Okay.
And ended up being able to translate or parlay that into being in the trophy business because I was so used to, being around sports and all of that. And of course, besides academic stuff, all of the awards are mostly sports oriented, of course.
Yes.
And so that was just kind of a natural transition. So the store started in 1987. So it's been 36 years.
36 years. So in those 36 years, you've done a lot of trophies, plaques, things for a lot of people. What has been your most memorable piece?
The funniest one?
The funniest.
Okay. I've got a good story for
okay.
that. This is the funniest one, and I never found out how it ended.
Okay.
But just doing it was hilarious because I do get a lot of strange requests. I have people even now will come in and go, Mark, you've probably not heard this one before, but I've got an odd request.
Okay.
So, but this was the strangest but funniest one I ever had. This was probably 20 years ago. This guy comes in and he's got a big, very big piece probably, I don't know, 18 by 20 or 24, a huge piece of plywood.
Yeah.
And he's finished it off and everything, and shellac and lacquer and stuff on it. And he wanted a plate made to put on this board, in a pretty decent size plate.
Okay.
Like maybe 3 by 10. I mean, something that was pretty good size.
Yeah.
So I asked him what it was for. Okay. So the short version of this is his wife had never been hunting before.
Okay.
And his wife had been hassling him to go hunting. So he finally said, okay. And she went hunting with him. So they parked on a pipeline, in between trees like they do when they go hunting.
Gotcha.
And this is deer hunting, of course. And so they went out in the woods and finally they saw something. And so his wife shot at it and missed it.
Oh.
And they stayed out there for a little while longer. When they came back to their truck, there was water all on the ground under the truck. And the husband couldn't figure out what was going on. So he lifted the hood. Well, when she shot at the deer and missed it, it went clear out of the woods and went through the radiator in their truck. And so what was on the ground was all the water and antifreeze from their truck.
Wow.
So what he did, how people get mounts when they kill deer or ducks or whatever.
He mounted the radiator.
He mounted the radiator. And he had me make a plate, like a taxidermy plate that said her name, killed, and the date, where it was, and all this. And he was going to give it to her because it was around Christmas time. He was going to give it to her for a Christmas present.
You've never been able to get a follow-up story.
That is hilarious that the guy was going to put the radiator up like she had killed it, and had a plate made for it, just like a deer mount. That was the funniest one and probably the most unusual one that I've ever had.
We need a
I never saw the guy again.
Yeah, we need a follow-up story on that.
Yeah, I asked him, I said, hey, come back. Even if you don't need anything, I said, come back and let me know how she reacted. Because I told him, I said, with something like that, you're going to get 1 or 2 reactions.
Yeah.
She's either going to be so mad at you and not think it's funny that she won't talk to you for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Or she'll think it's the funniest thing she's ever seen.
Either or.
And do well with it. So I asked him, but he never came back. So I don't know how the story ended.
Man, I want to know how.
But that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's funny. We have one come in and says, shout out to Mr. Cramer for all the gold medals at our house.
Awesome.
My wife. So we definitely have a bunch of plaques and trophies and things that we know came from champion trophies.
Awesome.
So shout out to her. Let's see. We're gonna be right back after a brief message.
415 South Farmerville Street in Ruston, Louisiana. Find us today on Booksy to book your appointment. Fats Fresh Cuts. It's more than a barbershop.
That's a barber.
Oh, hey y'all. We're back. So your stepson's a barber?
He works over in Monroe.
Okay. What's the name of the shop?
Orange or yellow? Yeah, orange or yellow.
Yeah.
One of those colors.
Okay. Shout out to is this Katie's husband?
No.
Oh, so you have
It's my wife's son.
Oh, okay. I got you. So talked about champion trophy. We went down memory lane, and one of your favorite plays that you've seen in Ruston High history, which is still to this day, it blows my mind.
Well, the thing, Ladarius, is the fact that the reason, besides, I coached. And so I look for things, and I think that's one of the things that I hopefully brought to the Ruston High broadcast was the fact that I look at plays differently than just another color guy that didn't play football or didn't coach. And so I was able to pick things out of plays and tell it to the listener who's listening on the radio who can't see what we're seeing. Of course, now they can with the Bearcat Network. You've got the streaming. But at that time, you had to describe what you saw, and you're supposed to, what we used to call, paint a picture for the listener so they can hear so they can kind of visualize in their mind what you're saying. But that's when, as you said, that I was on the sidelines. Well, that play happened right in front of me.
Yeah.
If you remember, I was on that side of the field because we ran to our side on that play. Yeah. And so you weren't probably 30 feet in front of me when you made the play. So I really and truly was right in front of it, to where I saw how much effort and determination you had to put, and how hard these guys were hitting you, trying to get you down before you got in the end zone.
And we were there, so that was my sophomore year.
Yeah, that was at Longview.
Yeah, because we did them 2 years there, and then we played them my senior year at home.
Right.
And yeah, that was my sophomore year with Jeremy Hamilton on that team. Neil Holloman.
Yeah, see, he just about had the hardest hit I ever saw.
Really?
Yeah. He let some guy up out of bounds, right before out of bounds, on a play that the guy had caught a pass. I don't know how the guy ever got it. Jeremy Hamilton still, again, to this day, was one of the hardest hitters for a high school kid that I ever saw.
I was second that. I definitely would. I remember running away from his side, a lot in practice, but I will say this, I gained a lot of respect early from those guys as a sophomore, to where I didn't think they were really out to get me, but it was still one of those things where I was like, I respect Jeremy Hamilton for who he is, and I'm gonna try to get around him,
Jeremy Hamilton was one of those defensive players that can make the crowd go, ooh. Yeah. There's not many guys that can do that. There's guys that are good tacklers and, are good, really good players, but there's only a select few that can actually make the crowd go, ooh. Yeah,
I agree with that. I think the kid this year, Jaden Mayfield, 22.
Yeah.
I think he
can do it. Jordan Guidry can
Jordan Guidry, he can do it. Maud Bro can definitely do it. I think those guys will really make the crowd ooh this year. It's going to be insane. Have you had a chance to go out and see any of them?
I have not been able to.
They I didn't see the 12-minute halves that they had on Friday.
They dominated Bird, which is saying something.
Yeah, but I saw the scrimmage part, and the offense was moving slowly. And every year, I feel like defense is usually a little always
farther ahead.
It's always a little further
because
ahead.
you got new guys in. You know what it's like.
Yeah,
you come in, you got new players. Even though it's the same offense and probably the same thing they ran at the junior high. Right. It's different. The speed of the game is different. Yeah. You kind of have to ease yourself into it.
Yeah, and they look like a team that's promising. I think the quarterback is one read away from being one of the better quarterbacks that we've had here.
Josh Brantley can wing it.
And if he can make that one read, I feel like the team will go as far as that is.
It's been a long time since we've had some kids that could pass the ball pretty well. Mm-hmm. But as far as what you would consider a passing quarterback, it's probably been Ben Alsop's the last really throwing, what I would consider a throwing quarterback that we've had. And with somebody that can throw it like Josh Brantley, it gives you the ability to kind of keep the other team guessing. It's not, well, they're probably going to run even with the quarterback on first and second down, and if it gets third and long, they're going to throw it.
Right.
But with somebody like Josh that can throw the ball so well and so with such a strong arm, you can throw with him. You can throw it any down, and that keeps the defense off balance.
Well, and I last season, I think that the thing that got us further than we've been in years is the first down pass completion and the third down pass completion.
Right.
We've never really completed those passes.
Not on first down.
And to know, okay, typically Rustin on third down, they're gonna run it, right? That's what most and if we did throw it, sometimes we didn't complete it. So last year, and I think this year is what we will need to go as far as we can go. Just getting the third down.
Well, and one of the things that that we pointed out, to your point about throwing on first down, is the fact that even if you only get, say, you throw a short pass in the flat, or maybe a quick hitter up the middle, say you get 4 or 5 yards, and it doesn't look flashy,
right?
But
it opens up something.
It opens up that playbook for the offensive coordinator when it's 2nd and 5 instead of running the ball and getting 1 yard and 2nd and 9.
Yeah,
there's a big difference between what you can call in the playbook at 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 5.
Exactly, and that's what, and that was that difference I think we had last season, and that's the difference we'll need to continue to make it as far as Ruston High can make it. Making that first down, making it to where the coach can, hey, let's have fun with this on second down. Let's do something here and let's do something there, and also completing that third down pass if it comes up.
And Jaden got more and more comfortable. He ended up being a 3-year starter. He got more and more comfortable throwing the ball each year.
Yeah.
And of course, last year, speaks for itself with his accuracy.
Yeah. It shows that his freshman year he went out there and tried his best. And the next year it was like, okay, I see where that freshman year has come to. Then the next year after that, okay, I see where that year has come to. And it's like last year is like, this is what we've been looking for right here. We knew that this kid can do this, and this.
Well, everything in football, as you know, is a progression.
Right.
It's a learning curve. But we have to be honest about it. The learning curve for a quarterback is way more than everybody else because there's so many different things that they have to remember, just like some of the offensive line calls that maybe the center has to do.
Yeah.
But he's got to read the defense. He's got to put the offense in the right play because sometimes they're calling 2 plays at once. And he has to decide, okay, we're going to do this or going to do that based on what the defense is set up. And that's not something that's easy to do, even for an experienced player,
right?
Let alone somebody that's just kind of coming in. So it's his learning curve was steep, but I think he accomplished it way faster than a lot of people would think.
Yeah,
and he did a great job.
Yeah, he did. He did. Shout out to the 2023. What was it? 2022, 2023 season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're in the 23 now.
Yeah, we're in the 2023, 2024 season. But those 2022, 2023 season Bearcats, man, shout out to y'all. Y'all did wonderful for us Bearcat faithfuls, and the community showed out like no other. I hadn't seen that since the Slidell game, November 98. Yeah, that was where nowhere to sit in the stadium. It was so jam-packed in there that night. Slidell was sitting on our side. I know a lot of people were sitting on the other side. It was just nowhere to, the cat box was filled with fans and students, and it was last year. It felt like that.
It did.
It felt.
It did. It was a special feeling. I know. My son Sean, who's older than Katie, that you went to school with. Sean graduated in '99. He was a baseball player, but we were still obviously going to the football games then too. He was a junior that year, and the atmosphere. Every home game was just electric that year, and even into the next year also. From 98, 99, 2000. Was something just about every ball game. Yeah, 2000 was a good season. That was my sophomore season. So that was the year where the Neville game was supposed to be lost. No, the Neville game was down there. The home games was I can't remember. Washita was at home that year. No. I remember because Reggie Maxwell had a hip horner in Washita, and I had to play. And that was a good game too. We won that game. We just lost my senior year to Washita. Washita Trey White.
Yeah.
Running back.
Yeah. Who else did they have? That senior, not very many people, but they had Will Height on the team that 2000 team. Jonathan Will Height, who went over to Auburn and played for the Super Bowl Patriots for a couple years. He was really fast.
You know, when you think about it too, we talk about this on our show on Sports Talk 97.7 all the time. When you think about how really relatively small population-wise North Louisiana is, to think about all of it, not just in football, but in all sports, think about how many professional athletes come out of North Louisiana, just North Louisiana. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. When you think about all the people that have played either at Ruston High or Louisiana Tech that have gone on, and even Grambling, that have gone on and played in the NFL.
Yeah. Just out of this this small area, at the top of Louisiana, and a lot of athletes come out of it. I know I look at a lot of different sites where it says, I know at one point Ruston High was like number 48 on the list of most NFL players, and I was like, man, that is insane. Number 48.
Yeah, when you talk about the whole country,
and
how many schools play football in this country, there's no man telling how many thousands of schools play football for Ruston to be, especially for our small population, for us to have that many. I mean, even got Isaiah Buggs now.
Buggs, So we had Kentrell Bryce, who was in the league. He's over in the USFL or the XFL. He's in one of those leagues, I know for sure. USFL, I think it is. And I mean, guys, just take over. Once we get to that point, I think we know how to get there and perform for those teams. I just saw Mike Green was considered one of the best people to wear number 43 in Chicago history. I was like, out of all the professionals who've come through that team and the Super Bowl teams that they had, and a guy from Ruston is considered one of their best, and he was a Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last guy to be drafted in the NFL. So that sounds that's pretty good to hear coming out of Ruston. Let's see here. We're gonna do what I like to call Fast Five.
Okay.
Ask you 5 questions. Fast 5.
Hit me!
All right, we are now in our Fast 5 segment of the show. 5 questions we're gonna ask. Nothing crazy, nothing to make you want to run out of the building,
I'm out there. I'm ready.
Okay. Question number 1. What's your best investment or worst investment that you've made?
My best investment? I'm talking about business-wise?
Life-wise or whatever?
I think my best investment was coaching.
Coaching?
One of the things that I always used to tell parents during my parent meetings, and I still miss it, even though it's been over 30 years since I coached, just the situation just allowed me to move on to something else. But I'm still very close. My last job up at Dubach, I still call them my boys, but they're in their early 50s. But I think I'm still close with those guys. Yeah. They were like my own children. And I always told them and told the parents during my parent night, I'd had parents ask me all the time, Coach, what's your philosophy of your program? I'd get that question a lot. And I would tell them that regardless of whether we go, this was basketball, if we go 100-0 or 0-100, if your child is not a better person and a better student when they came into my program, when they left my program, if they weren't better in those areas, regardless of basketball, then I didn't feel like I did my job. Yeah. I'm just as proud, Ladarius, of guys that were on my last couple of teams. I've got 2 pastors. I've got a principal of a high school. One of my guards is a fireman in Dallas. I've got guys that are still here in the Ruston Dubach area that are supervisors at some of the industrial plants that are around the Ruston area. I'm just as proud, if not more so, of what those guys, even if I, you have to be realistic, even if I had 5% to do with teaching them things about life and all of that, if I even had that little to do with it, then I feel like my time with them was accomplished. Yeah. I think a lot of that kind of investment in who people are is getting a little lost in coaching these days. Yeah. A lot of guys are get into coaching for themselves. Hey, look at me, I've won this many games and all this kind of stuff.
I got this guy looked at, so you should hire me. I can get your guys looked at.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing. And to me, it's more, what can you invest for a lifetime? Because some kids in high school, most of the kids in high school will never play in the NFL. They'll never play in the NBA. They'll never play Major League Baseball. Right. Some of them may never even go to college to play those sports. Hopefully they will go to college, but not to play those sports. Right. And so to me, junior high and high school is where the real investment time comes in for a coach. So I would say that's my biggest investment.
I'll agree with that. Let's say the next one would be, well, first off, I agree with what you said, that six in junior high and high school level is the most important. And that's where I always felt like if I was to be a coach, I would want to teach or coach that age group.
You'd be a good coach.
I've tried at it.
You'd be a good one.
Yeah, I think so.
You're a people person.
I am,
and that's one of the things you have to do. You have to be a people person to be able to be effective in that part of it, regardless of what your X's and O's knowledge is.
Gotcha. Second one, Fast Five. You watched a lot of games. You have a lot of memories of Ruston High football. What would you say was your most memorable game that you called at Ruston High?
Ooh, boy. Probably, and not for any other reason, but it was just so unusual. The playoff game, and it's been probably 10 years ago, maybe close to it. Bearcats played Mandeville in the playoffs. And they were getting trounced in the first half. It was, and I don't remember the exact score, but it was something like 27-3 or something like that. And right before halftime, we had this big thunderstorm, if you remember.
Rain delay.
And and they had the big lightning delay, and they went ahead and kept the guys in the locker room for halftime. And the delay was, at least an hour and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
And the temperature changed, the front went through, and the weather changed, it got windy and everything else. And it was like a brand new game in the second half. And the Bearcats came out and absolutely steamrolled Mandeville in the second half and ended up winning that game. So that's probably one of the more memorable ones, again, simply because it was so odd. And the circumstances of the thunderstorms and the rain delays.
The drop kick.
Yeah. The
field goal that was fumbled, and was it Haddix? Yeah, he took it in. That was
fumbled
crazy.
The snap and ended up running it in for the 2-point conversion. Yeah. So the whole thing was just odd, but it came out for the Bearcats. So that was probably one of my more memorable ones.
Okay. The last TV show that you binge watch. Do you watch the TV?
Last TV show that I binged, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
It's a good one. I've been watching, what is the name of it? We've been watching, my wife and I, League of Their Own. TV. There's a series on Amazon Prime. We've been watching that lately. I like that one. That was pretty cool. We watch a lot of stuff. Flip through things, but that is what we've watched consistently in the last week or so. That was 3. So we're going with number 4. Favorite place to eat here in Ruston?
Don't want to make anybody mad.
No, we're not gonna make anybody mad.
Hot Rod Barbecue.
Hot rods? Okay.
Hot Rods.
Okay.
They have country pleasing sausage, and you can't beat it.
Yeah. We like hot rods. We I just told my wife Saturday if the wait was gonna be too long at log cabins, we were gonna go across the street to hot rods. Just so happens
We're fortunate in a town the size of Ruston. We have a lot of great places to eat.
Yeah. I like the addition of the food truck park.
Yes. The food truck park is great.
It's some good,
not this time of year, but once it starts cooling down.
Man, it's just been too hot.
Yeah, they don't like it either. I feel bad for them because all the food truck owners don't get near the business because it's just too hot for people to sit in the picnic tables, even though they have umbrellas.
Yeah. They're supposed to be opening that thing up and having an eating section on the inside of the old warehouse, I think. So hopefully that'll help a lot as far as, business not slowing down. Court. Yeah, food court instead of the truck park, but hey, I like it. I like the growth of Ruston in the food department and really everything. It's just, I tell people all the time, if you left here 10 years ago and this is your first time back here, you wouldn't know where to go. We'd have to say the old so-and-so or the,
People ask me, I'm in now, after I moved 5 years ago, I'm in the old Lewis's Youth Shop on West Mississippi, down the street from, I say, when people ask me directions to the store, I'll say, how long have you lived here?
Right.
Because if somebody's lived here from at least 15 years ago and backwards, I can tell them I'm right down the sidewalk from where Grigsby's used to be. Grigsby's Jewelry Store.
Grigsby's Jewelry, yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody hasn't lived here that long, they wouldn't know what I was talking about.
Right.
But otherwise, I'd say I'm across the street from the T.L. James building.
Yeah. Okay. So, y'all make sure y'all go out and visit.
Yeah, come by and see me.
Yeah.
You don't even have to buy anything. Just come in and talk. I don't get many visitors.
So that was 4. And Hot Rods is the place that he would go for his barbecue. I like Hot Rods. I like Bristers. I like Bad Wolf. These are just barbecues spots.
They're all good. That's why I said I didn't want to make anybody mad. That's just
they're all good.
Because I go to all of them.
Yeah. So that's just the one. That's just the one he decided to say today.
Yes. Yeah, tomorrow I could say a different one.
Yeah, I get it. All right, last one. If you could talk to anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
That's an interesting question. Because I actually met him or just shook his hand for like 2 seconds. But because of when I was a kid, my dad was in the military. My dad's retired from the Air Force. Probably because of we've never been closer to nuclear war in the world than we were in 1962 with the Cuban Missile Crisis. I'd like to talk to President Kennedy. To John Kennedy, and just because I was a history teacher, so I'd like to pick his brain about all of the things that were going on in the background that the public didn't know during that time that we were so close to both Russia and us pushing the buttons. It was and my dad was in the Air Force at that time, and my dad was a message decoder, and so he knows a lot of what was going on too. And he couldn't tell me stuff for years and years and years. My dad's almost 92 now. And, but I'd really like to talk to him, especially since he was killed. We never, he was also, President Kennedy and his brother Robert, who was the Attorney General, they were big civil rights advocates. When you're talking about 62, 63, I think even civil rights in this country would have come about quicker had he been able to, because he probably would have won the 1964 election and been the president for 4 more years.
For the second term.
Through 1968. And I think everything that happened during that time, I think the civil rights movement would have progressed faster under his and his brother's leadership than it did after he was gone.
I like that. I've never given an answer on who I'd like to talk to, dead or alive. But there are a bunch of historians that I would love to talk to. But I think I'm gonna keep it right here. And I say rest in high football, me. Just something I've always said. If I could talk to Coach Childress and
see, I knew him personally. So.
Okay, so it is like how did you keep that, whatever it was, how did you keep it within the team and win so much, you know?
He made it a priority for all the players.
Yeah.
Him and Big Coach.
Yeah.
Kind of ruled the roost, if you want to put it that way. And I'll give you an example. Now, if a kid didn't come to school, and it didn't matter whether he was a starter or a second team guy, both of them would literally, and they probably couldn't do it nowadays because of all the craziness we have in our world, but they would actually go to the kid's house and get him out of the house and take him to school. Say, hey, you're part of the Bearcat Nation. You're part of the Bearcat program. You're a Bearcat, and your behind needs to be in school. And they would actually go pick them up and take them to school. You know, that's how much they cared about the kids in those days, to get them, make sure, because it wasn't just about football.
Gotcha.
You know, it was about kind of what I talked about earlier. You know, Coach Childress cared, and Big Coach again, they cared about what you did afterwards, after school.
Life after.
Yes, life after sports. And they cared a lot about that. Again, that's why I said that I think, just my own opinion, that a lot of that is disappearing in coaching these days. And it's something with all the things that are pulling kids apart, their attention. They have so many different things pulling on them these days that I think it's even more important now for that kind of thing to be a focus for coaches, to invest in kids' lives for the future, not just for what they can do for you on the football field, basketball court, or baseball field.
Right. I remember where, for me, I was so focused on getting those awards, you know, that the wins and those things. The Chick Childress Award that players got, the Hoss Garrett Award, was
those represent who you are as a person.
Exactly. And I don't, like you say, I don't feel that they are really. We went every day to try to win that award. You know, I don't think
it was a priority for you in the 20 years.
There's so much more now that they could, you know, that they can get to where they're not even focused on. That's just.
And the thing is, Ladarius, if you go back, and I don't know if they still have a list or not, but if you went back and from the time you were in school in 03 to now, that's 20 years, and look at the list of the players that won the Chick Childress Award and won the Hoss Garrett Award, you would look down that list and go, yeah, I can see why that guy won. I can see why this guy won. It's because it's people of character and caliber of person that won all of those awards. Even there's all of those awards, the main awards that they give out at the football banquet are all like that.
Maurice Bratton said Mark Cramer is my guy. So let's see. We've done all 5 of our FAT'S. 5. Done all 5.
Hit me!
That was pretty fast. We got through that.
Yeah, not bad.
That was good, not bad. Some really great answers. Or was that? Yeah, that was 5.
Yeah, we had 5.
That was 5. I lose count when I give my response too. You know, I try to respond with the answer, but I also try not to because it's like once I get into it, it's like, oh, well, no, we're on.
It's for your guest.
It's for my guest. Exactly. Give the people a quote of the day. We're winding down to the end of the show. Give the people a quote of the day, something they can live off of.
My quote of the day is always, open the doors of your mind and break on through to the other side.
Open the doors of your mind and break on through to the other side.
If you don't open the doors of your mind, you limit yourself mentally, emotionally, physically to be able to break through some of those barriers that come up in front of you in life.
Wow. Mine is it's not good. It's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be.
That's exactly right.
It's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. It's just the same. You know, you open the doors of your mind, you know. It'll take you.
You can do whatever you
can
want.
Do whatever you want, you know. Mr. Kramer, I thank you for stopping by the show.
It's been great. I appreciate it.
It was
very
great.
much. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Yes, sir. Hey, y'all.
Anytime.
Y'all, when y'all go back and play this back, put a 100 emoji underneath and tell Mr. Kramer how well he did on the show. You know,
You'll have to tell me.
He's no rookie to being behind the mic, you know. So
I enjoy it. And again, it was a privilege to be here with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for keeping my name, because my little brothers, they were like, you know, non-believers.
It's always that way.
It's always
if
that
I
way,
can
right?
if I can finish the show that way, it's always like that.
Yeah.
Your children don't believe that your stories. They'll go, "Oh, Dad, you were never that good. This didn't happen. That didn't happen." So if you have a physical witness that can come, and one of the great things for me, my junior high and high school catcher lives in Maryland, and that's where I lived at that time. With my dad being in the service, and he came to visit once.
Okay.
And he told my son about, I was a pitcher, and he told my son all about my pitching, you know, in that time period of my life. Yeah. And so that made me feel better. Yeah. Because I had a witness actually telling my son that, hey, the stories that I had told him were actually true.
Right. I go through that all the time. But y'all, thank y'all for tuning in to Fats Barbershop Club. Real topics, real views from real people. I have Mr. Mark Cramer in the building. Sideline, play-by-play to the booth at Ruston High. Now he's retired from play calling the booth, and you're doing a show Mondays and Wednesdays.
Monday and Wednesday, I host The Edge, which is our morning show on Sports Talk 97.7. So you can catch Jamie Foxx and I. That's from 7 to 9 on Sports Talk 97.7 on Mondays and Wednesdays.
So y'all make sure y'all check that out. And we are.
What's up, Ruston? Thank you for listening to my Daddy Fat on Fats Barbershop Club.